Let's discuss the predefined exceptions first. Predefined exceptions. Last class we have discussed about the exception hierarchy. Now let's discuss the predefined exceptions. Predefined exceptions. So predefined exceptions, again, predefined exceptions are those which is given by the Sun Microsystem. So those exceptions are called predefined exceptions. Again, predefined exceptions are two types. They are asynchronous exceptions, asynchronous exceptions, asynchronous exceptions, and synchronous exceptions, synchronous exceptions, asynchronous exceptions, and synchronous exceptions. Let's first discuss asynchronous exceptions. Asynchronous exceptions. Okay. See, these asynchronous exceptions always deals with the hardware problems, right? Asynchronous exceptions always deals with the hardware problems. Okay, so for these asynchronous exceptions, the superclass is java dot lang dot error. So this is a superclass for all the asynchronous exceptions. So hardware problems, right? Motherboard problem, motherboard failure, keyboard, motherboard failure, mouse not working, motherboard failure. These kind of messages we used to get it, right? Driver not found exceptions. These are the some of the errors we'll be facing it when we are using our operating system. Driver not found error, right? Okay, and yeah, hardware like memory overloaded, memory overloaded. Okay, memory overloaded. It's memory overloaded error will throw you when the memory is already full. Okay, it will ask you to delete the some of the videos or some of your photos. If you'll be getting this kind of memory overloaded error when you're using your laptop or your your phone also. So if the memory is loaded, overloaded, at that time it will ask you to delete the some of your items actually. Okay, so for all these exceptions, for all these errors, the superclass is java.lang. So asynchronous exceptions are those which are always deals with the hardware problems like motherboard failure, driver not found error, and memory overloaded error. Okay, there are wide variety of errors for all these errors. So this is the superclass. This is the parent for all these errors. Okay, fine. But see, asynchronous exceptions are not I don't know why the Java is not dealt with these hardware problems. So because the Java is always talk about the software, right? When you are writing the code, it all always regards to the software itself. For hardware problems, they just gave these exceptions. They haven't given any exception subclasses. Okay, they just gave this error as a super class for all these exceptions, for all these errors. Okay, there is no other super class for all these asynchronous exceptions. Okay, so let's see the synchronous exception, the synchronous exceptions. What are synchronous exceptions? What are the synchronous exceptions? Okay, these see synchronous exceptions are those which are always deals with programmatic errors. Okay, so programmatic errors. So in order to deal with these synchronous exceptions, we must use a predefined class called what? We must use a predefined class called exception. See, here we have two types of, we have a super class called throwable and we have a child class called error. So the error is asynchronous exceptions which are always deals with the problems. And the exception is the one, so it will always deal with the programmatic errors. If there are programmatic errors are there, so the exception is the one superclass which will handle all those exceptions. Okay, so let's come over here. So synchronous exceptions are those which are always deals with the programmatic errors. In order to deal with these programmatic errors, so in order to deal with these programmatic errors, you should extend your class. You must extend your class with the java.lang.exception. This is the super class for all your asynchronous exceptions. For all your asynchronous exceptions. Okay. Again, see, again, these asynchronous exceptions are categorized into two types. Asynchronous exceptions are categorized into two types. What they are? Let's see. Asynchronous exceptions are categorized into two types. One is checked, or let me write unchecked. Unchecked, unchecked exceptions, and the other one is checked exceptions. Checked exception. So checked, unchecked exceptions. So So as of now, what we have discussed, predefined exceptions are two types. Okay, they are asynchronous exceptions and synchronous exceptions. Asynchronous exceptions always deals with the hardware problems. I have given the examples as well: motherboard failure, driver not found exception, error, and memory overloaded error. Okay, so always for all these errors, so the superclass is java.lang.error. And synchronous exceptions. Synchronous exceptions are all those which are always deals with programmatic errors. So if you are getting any kind of programmatic error, so you will be using you will be extending that exception class, or you will be writing the exception class in your catch block, and it will be catching that exception. Again, the synchronous exceptions are, they are two types. They are, one is unchecked exceptions. The other one is checked exception. So let's see unchecked exception first. Let's see the unchecked exception first. Let me copy this. Write unchecked exceptions. See, unchecked exceptions are those. These are the unchecked exceptions are those which are always deals with the runtime errors. Okay. So example, let's say example, arithmetic exception, number format exception, array index out of bounds exception. These exceptions will comes under this unchecked exceptions only. Unchecked exceptions only. Okay. Unchecked exceptions only. Let me copy that exceptions. So these are the exceptions which are occurring at runtime. Just copy this and just paste it over here. I don't need this IO exception. So this is a checked exception. Okay. So these are the examples of some unchecked exceptions, which is runtime exceptions. Okay. So let's see what is checked exception. So what are the checked exceptions? File not found exception, class not found exception. These are comes under the checked exceptions. Checked exceptions. In interviews, they will be asking questions like, what are the checked and unchecked exceptions? You have to tell unchecked exceptions are occurring at the runtime of your program. So if the the end user is not following, he is entering the wrong input, you will be getting this kind of exception. Unchecked exceptions are occurring while running your application itself. But the thing is that if you are like requesting, if you are finding, if you are trying to get one particular file, if the file is not exist at that time, the file not found exception will occur. File not found exception occurs. For example, let me take a scenario to explain this file not found exception. The file not found exception, let's say I am trying to access a one file. So I'll be creating a file object. Okay, file, new file of, I'll be giving the path of the file. Okay, let's say the file is available at C drive, colon documents. Okay, and I'll be giving the file name as a image1.jpeg. So I'm expecting this file should be residing at my documents and documents folder, and I'll be expecting this file name should be there in my C drive. So if this particular file is not available at that time, you'll be throwing this file not found exception. So file not found exception, when it will be occurring, when we are trying to get one, but when you are trying to access one file, if that file is not exist in your database or in your local disk drive, at that time you'll be getting this file not found exception. Similarly, so you have let's say you have an application. Okay, so that application wants to read one class. So let's say I don't have this class in my application. Let's say balance not found class. Balance not found class. I'm expecting this balance from found class, not found class. Okay. And I'm trying to get that class, but it is not existent. So I'll say obj dot get of balance not found dot class. If this class is available in my project, so I'll be getting this class. If it is not available at that time, you will be saying this class not. This is what class balance not found is a class, so it will directly throws that class not found exception. So whatever the class you are requesting it is not there in your project, so it will be definitely throwing an exception like class not found exception. So it will ask you to create this class in reference. It will ask you to create a class. It will directly throw a message and it will ask you to create a class if it is not found. Okay, so these are some of the examples of checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. Okay, so we'll discuss what exactly exception is, and we'll see the nature of message and all in the next video. Okay, thank you.